Erica, you just hit the button, right?
Yeah, I just hit the button. We should be live on YouTube in just a few seconds. So I'm waiting for that to.
Is Councilman Petrolanda aboard?
Yes, I see him.
Good. Good. There he is.
I'm here, Bob.
Got you, brother.
And I'm looking at all the guys. You all have white hair. I don't know. The only one that doesn't have white hair is George, but the bear.
That's
Or
because
the
he's
goat.
too, Jamie, that's because he's too young.
It's great enough. Look at this.
George, you're a piece of work. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too.
The ladies have nice hair. We got white hair.
Yeah, but he's got frosted sideburns.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor, whenever you're ready.
Okay, call the roll.
Mayor Bain.
I'm here.
Okay, Vice Mayor Lowe.
Here.
Councilman Best.
Present.
Councilwoman Mitchell.
Here.
Councilman Petrolanda.
Here.
We have a quorum present, sir.
We do.
Okay. Everybody's freezing up a little bit, Erica.
Yes, I know. It seems the connection might be lagging a little bit.
Keep going.
Yes.
Okay, we have invocation by Vice Mayor Loeb.
Dear Lord, please guide us to make the correct decisions for the future of this city. And may you keep everyone's health in your mind and keep them safe. Amen.
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 Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready?
Ready.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the flag
Flag
and to the
United
United States of
America.
and to the
And to the
republic
republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
for all.
Okay, I see here we're gonna have an opening remarks by the city manager.
Yep.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Good evening to all of you.
And to you, sir.
Thank you. You all should have received your budget books. We've also placed them online electronically, so anyone can access them. I just wanted to make a few comments in preparation for the first budget workshop. We presented council with the fiscal year 2021 budget workbook, which includes various options and alternatives to assist council in making sound financial decisions when addressing the proposed fiscal year 2021 budget, which, as we know from the last meeting, increased the millage rate from the current 7.33 to 7.5228. At this rate, it provides for a balanced budget without use of our reserves. If you remember, at the current rate of 7.33, we were looking at a $242,000 deficit. We still have, and as we go through these budget workshops and into the public hearings in September, we still have three things we're waiting for. One is the health insurance RFP, which is, as you know, in the current budget, we're budgeting a 15% increase. But we should be getting the health insurance RFP, I believe, tomorrow. So we may have, for the next meeting, some solid numbers on that one. Second, we're still waiting for some state projections of revenues for next year. We're still waiting on that one. And the third thing we're waiting for, I know you've heard a lot of talk in the last couple of weeks, mayors in the county related to the reimbursement of CARES Fund or the allocation of CARES Fund money to the different cities. The county sent us notification last week to send them a report of what the city has spent as far as COVID related since March 1st through the present. And we've already submitted that to the county. They wanted two sets of numbers, what we spent up to now from March 1st to now, and what we project we'll be spending between now and the end of the year, December 31st. So we submitted a report, which is in the neighborhood of about $370,000. That and that's not only just for PPE and for disinfection and all that. It also covers reimbursement of, for example, park staff that we've used to monitor or to enforce emergency orders in the parks. Police have had a significant number of calls, especially to hotels during this period related to COVID. So we added up all those costs so far, and like I said, we're in the neighborhood of 370,000. So we're waiting to see what the county will reimburse us on that. So that should help out, relieve some of the impact on our reserves related to COVID. So we're waiting on those three to come in, but in the meantime, what you have in front of you right now is based on the 7.5228 cap rate that the council set. The total general fund budget for this year is $18,201,947, of which $11,529,497, or almost 63.3%, represents employee salary and benefits. This leaves approximately $6,672,000 to cover all other city needs. On page 1-1 through 1-2 of your book, I listed some of the more significant budget assumptions for you. I also provided you a breakdown of our city's reserves. At the current rate, we ended last year with 4.477 million in reserves. The impact of fiscal year 1920, as I mentioned before, is going to be about $1 million. So that's going to leave us with about 3.5 million in reserves. And again, this all depends on these three items that we discussed before. So as I said, we've built up a healthy reserves during the past few years, and reserves are meant to be for emergency situations like the one we've encountered this year. We've actually had two situations this year, the City Hall issue and the COVID issue. So I think the fact that we've been able to build up these reserves over the years has helped us out a lot, and it's proving now. I also, in part of your package, you'll see page 1-3 provides some possible reductions based on past history and experience with previous budget workshops. Page 1-4 is a wish list item, which are not included in the budget, but are just there for your consideration. Page 1-5 is a financial dashboard showing the history of millage rates for the past 17 years, as well as fund balances during these years. And page 1-6 provides council with a graphic view of the city's funds and their relation to each other, the general fund. With that, unless there are any questions, we'd like to proceed to section 2, which is the city council budget, which is the first budget we're going to discuss today.
William, I have a
Yes.
question of you, sir.
Sure.
Over the years, what has been the largest reserve that we have ever seen?
Well, if you look at,
I have looked at it. That's why I'm asking you the
yeah,
question.
on the page -15, which is the historic reserves, we've had, I believe the highest was back in fiscal year 2009. We had 8.4 million.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, if I may, I have a question for the city manager.
Sure.
William, on the 370 that you submitted to the county for COVID-related expenses, is that what one of the two figures that you said, is that the combined two figures, or that's the to date? Or does that include going forward, what you
That's
expect?
a combined. That's what we spent to date and what we project we're going to be spending between now and the end of the year.
Right.
Okay, and from that, what are the major expenses of the 370? What takes up, say, what are the three major expenses of that?
Mostly personnel, mostly Parks and Rec staff, police staff is number two, and the third
Public
one would
Works.
be, well, yeah, and one of the things we put on there is the emergency meals for the seniors due to the CARES funding that's going to end the end of August. So there's a cost of about $21,000 for these meals for these 57 seniors that were not part of our program to carry them on from September to December. We included that on there also.
Wow.
So the one of the biggest cost is the extra staff. Is that overtime, or just that we need extra staff, say in Parks and Rec,
No,
to
it-
accommodate? Because
No,
I
in
know we
the-
have
in-
limited hours.
In the CARES fund, here's another thing. They will also, one of the other largest costs is paid sick time, family leave that we've had to pay to our employees that have been either tested positive or have been ill due to COVID-19. That is another big issue. That represents probably over $70,000 since March 1st. And not only does it include the actual payroll costs, but it includes benefits as well. So the big item there is payroll taxes and pension costs. So we added all of that to our costs for reimbursement.
Okay, thank you.
The one thing, William, the money, if it's reimbursed to us, we would submit that into the budget, correct?
That will go back to reimburse the city for what we've paid already. Yes, that's,
Would we want to go ahead that to affect what we're going to finalize the millage rate with?
right. Well, what will happen is that money, since we're spending that now, that will go back into our general fund, into our reserves. So the impact on our reserves will be less than what we're projecting.
Okay, so out of that million, you're talking about 650.
It could be less, right, depending on how much we get reimbursed.
So in
What
other-
will we know,
so-
William?
so
Good point.
excuse me, Jaime, let me finish, please. So what we're saying is this money is actually for this budget period. It's not going to go into the next budget.
Correct, assuming we get it before September 30th. We don't know how long the county is going to take to reimburse some of these funds.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Go
What
ahead.
do we think is going to happen relative to that? Do we think it's going to happen before September 30th? I don't know.
Well, they just sent an agreement today, an MOU that they issued to all the cities, that they want all the cities to sign to get reimbursement. And we passed it over to our city attorney, and they're reviewing the MOU. I know all the cities have their city attorneys reviewing this MOU. And once they're comfortable with it, we sign it and submit it to the county so that they can begin the reimbursement process.
Mr. Manager, can I ask you a question? What happens if that doesn't happen by that date?
If what?
If it doesn't happen at that date?
Well, we'll eventually we'll get paid for it. If it doesn't happen by September 30th, then we'll get the reimbursement in next fiscal year. But it's still
Okay.
going to go back into reserves.
Okay.
Councilman Ventralanga?
No, he answered it while he was answering your question, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, anything else on the remarks?
No,
All
sir.
right, well, let's move to one. I mean,
All right.
two,
City
council, the council.
Council budget,
budget.
section 2. In preparation for tonight's meeting, I asked Mr. Tom Curtis from the River Cities Gazette. I asked the Curtis Mansion Group and the Historic Society to call in case council had any specific questions. But as far as the city council budget, the proposed budget is $23,905, or 13% lower than the current budget for 1920. The decrease is due mainly to the funding provided this year for the Historic Museum building renovation, which we don't have for 2021. So that's the reduction that you see there. The promotions line item is a lump sum of $79,560 to be allotted during the year as follows, and $41,060 will be allocated during the year for the following events. And I have a listing of the events there for you, including the Stafford Golf Tournament, the River Cities Festival, $14,000, the car shows, city events, and so on. We also have a request from Curtis Mansion to allocate the same $35,000 that we've been giving them every year for their operations. And the Historic Museum has requested $4,400 to be allocated for storage costs. And you see the amounts on page 2-4. So if you have any specific questions.
William,
I don't have-
excuse me, I didn't catch what you said after you said 35,000 for Curtis Mansion, and then you said 4,000 for something?
$4,400 for the Historic Museum for storage
Oh, for
costs.
storage for the historic, okay.
I don't have any questions, but I have one comment. I'd like the money for the River Cities Festival spent as needed. I would like council to say that whenever River Cities needs the money, they come to the manager and get the money. I don't like the idea of giving the one lump sum in front without having some kind of control over it, so the situation that happened this past year doesn't happen again. I'd like it to be that when the River Cities needs $4,000, they call the manager up and show what they need the $4,000 for, and go on and still give them the 14,000. But I think there's got to be some kind of control to understand that what happened this year, so we know what's going on with that $14,000. And I would hope council would follow suit with me.
Well, Mayor, I'd like to speak to that. First off, I would say that he did pay back everything, correct?
No,
What?
he only paid the 41 we agreed on. 4,100.
He paid everything back that he owed.
I need William to
He paid
speak up.
He paid everything back that he owed. And so why would you strap him like that?
I'm under the understanding he didn't pay the $14,000 back.
He did. Ask the manager.
He's right there.
No, I think what happened was they had a little over $9,000 that they claimed they had spent already. And what they refunded us was the difference between the 14,000 and what they had spent already.
Right.
We didn't get the full 14,000 back, no.
I need somebody to speak up. If they don't like my idea, let's move on.
I have no problem with that, Mayor. I think it's reasonable based on, what we experienced this year, which hadn't been an issue before. But do we need to vote on that, or is that something we do on the budget workshop, or that's something we would do during the next regular meeting?
I'm putting
I
this
don't
out.
think we can vote on a workshop.
I'm putting it out that when it's time, that we'll vote on it. But I'd like to see some consensus, consensus from you guys that I'm not going to be pulling my tooth when we go into the budget and we vote on this.
Well, through the chair, I would agree with what the mayor says on this.
So-
I would go through with that also.
Yep.
Okay, I appreciate it. Now, we have any other comments on the budget for the city council?
I have a couple of questions, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Okay, if I'm looking at River Cities from Tom, it says here, I guess it's small print, It says here that if we cancel it by February 1st, we get a total $14,000 back. I don't know if I'm reading that correctly, but that's the first thing I want to say. I don't have a problem with your suggestion, by the way, but I'm just saying, I'm just reading. This is one of the things I highlighted this morning when I was reading over this. It says that if we do it before February 1st, we'll get the, I guess it was meant to that if we give them the whole 14,000 at one shot like we did this year, if we canceled it before February 1st, we will get all of it back. If we canceled it after that, then it says here that we would have to negotiate how much you return. But I don't have a problem with your
That's, for the rest of the council,
Now, the
people,
other
that's on-
question
their memo is on page 2-16.
Yes, for,
Yes, sir, I've read it.
It says here broadcasting of council meetings in channel 77 is $2,400. 2-16. That's the one.
I can't understand him. Well,
You're
he's got-
breaking up.
Something's wrong, Jaime. I can't
Councilman,
understand.
yeah.
Jamie, you're
connection.
breaking.
How about this broadcasting?
Erica, can you try to log back on?
Allows free
Yeah.
access. $1. How about now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Jamie, you're breaking up, man.
Mayor, can you hear? I don't know what to tell you. I'm using.
You're better
cell
now.
phone,
You're much better now.
You're
yes.
better now, so speak your mind.
George, IT guy, what's going
Oh my
on,
God.
man?
No, he sounds like a guitar.
Erica,
You want to try to log on
Jaime,
again?
I think you should actually re-log back on to the meeting
leave
because your
and come
connection
back.
is bad.
Leave and
George,
come
you would
back.
know that better than most of us.
Okay, all right. Well, any other questions on the budget for city council?
I do,
Any other comments?
Mayor,
How
I
about
do.
the city, how about the city museum? How about the
Wait,
city?
wait, hold on. Maria spoke first. Go ahead, Ms. Mitchell.
Go, Maria.
Okay. Thank you. William, the 41,000, I know the 35,000 is for Curtis Mansion. It's what we've been giving them all along. And it's, we're very lucky to be one of the few communities in Miami-Dade County that has a historic mansion, a historic site like this in our community. But the other 4,000, the Historical Museum, which is also very important to us, the 41,000, the promotions, are there, and those are, I know the routine promotions that we've had so far, the fireworks display. I'm
No,
guessing
that-
that'll be redeposited. That's
No.
16,000 and that was part of this promotions?
No, that's part of the Parks and Rec budget.
Oh, okay.
Parks and Rec.
We do that, yeah.
Okay, so of these promotions, are there any promotions that you've been requested, I guess, by city council or approached by residents over a long time and asked for, and we just don't have the budget for? And are there any promotions that we really could do without?
Well, we
The
have,
41,000, the
if-
miscellaneous
if
promotions.
you go through the list, is the Stafford Golf Tournament, which we do annually, that's $2,000. We have the River Cities Festival, we have the 2 car shows. We have $8,000, which is city events. That's council's prerogative on how they want to spend it. Usually, if someone comes up with something that they want to do on the circle for a community event, council can take it from that part of the budget. We have the Florida League 89th anniversary ad, which is $1,000. The Miami-Dade installation dinner ad, which is another $1,000. The holiday dinner, that's the Christmas dinner for the employees, that's $5,000. We have the police appreciation dinner that we do every year, that's another $3,000. We have the community shred events that we do during the year, that's $2,060. And we have $2,000 set aside for the Optimus barbecue. And those are things that we've done in the past.
All right, colleagues, let me ask you this. How many of us have gone to the Florida League of Cities installation dinners and some of this other stuff relative to that?
I go,
I
Okay.
have.
That's one. Okay, Billy, how many have gone to?
Jaime, I know
Oh.
Councilman Petrolanda also attends, even though he's not online right now.
He's coming on right now.
Coming back? No, but seriously, I mean,
I think-
how much?
I used to go all the time.
How much?
I think it's an important way for.
George, you went, I remember that.
It's an important way for us to collaborate with other municipalities. We're a very small municipality and
How does it benefit the community though?
to meet
Aye.
with elected officials from other small municipalities, Bob, and
Okay.
discuss the same
Now, Maria.
issues that we're having and how they're tackling them. It just,
Maria,
it's something you have to do to know how it benefits the community.
Maria, my good friend, what does it do for the city? What does it do for us, for our constituents?
Okay, all right, since you have your idea there,
Yes, sir.
when we get to the time to vote, you made your point to everybody. When you get to the time to vote, we'll bring that up. And if council votes not to go to the 89th annual or the Miami-Dade installation, we'll vote yes or no. Your point's well taken, and we'll discuss that because we can't vote on anything today, like Councilwoman Mitchell said. So we'll just put that, just like the other thing about Tom, about the river cities, and we'll go ahead and make that decision when it's time to vote.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yeah,
may I finish now?
Yeah. yeah,
Can you hear
So
me
you
better
weren't
now?
on-
yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
finally.
Yes, much better.
Is William on?
Yes, I'm here.
The channel 77, you're spending $2,400 on it. I thought that was free access.
Erica?
I can answer that. We have to have equipment and software in order to transmit whatever we put on channel 77. So that is what the cost is.
Okay. All right. The last one, Mayor, I have is 2-17 Smart City Technology. This is something the Historical Society is asking for. I think it's Wi-Fi at the museum. But I think the police is going to benefit from this because on page 218, if we do this, then the police can monitor the park through the phone lines. They can place cameras at the park. That way, maybe we don't have to be sending police officers by the park. They're locked down live to the park. Now, what Jim here, Watson is saying is if we want, they can look into the price. Maybe that's something we want to ask them to do, see if it's feasible. And maybe we can get the money from the LETF fund from the police, since it's going to help them out if the cost is something that we want to spend. So I like for us to get consensus and maybe ask Jim Watson to go ahead and research the price for this new system, the Smart City Technology.
Well, Councilman, I talked to Jennifer Graham, and I think she's on tonight. She was going to call into the meeting, but she has a meeting set up with the IT director, George Fonseca, to go over these things. That is specifically that and internet coverage that they want to get at the museum. And she was going to get together with them to see if we currently have internet over there for the ThorGuard lightning system that we have. So she said she was going to meet with them in the next week or so. So they're looking into that.
Because if you read the memo that they put out, they wanted direction from us. That's why I'm asking for kind of consensus to say, yeah, go ahead, son, go ahead and do it. But if they're doing it, never mind.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on the council's budget?
None, sir. None, sir.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the city
The
clerk,
city
section 3.
clerk's budget is on page 3-5. The proposed budget is about $640 or 0.2% lower than 1920. So basically it's about the same. Budget includes $20,000 in contractual services for the 2021 city election. Erica is on board if you have any questions. Pacific
I
Crest?
do. I do, through the chair. Erica,
Yes.
with Councilman Petrolanda leaving on November 17th, and I've read many scripts on this relative to what it's going to cost the city for that to happen. And I've seen nothing that demonstrates how much money this is going to cost the city of Miami Springs. Can you help us with that?
Well, just to
We've-
give you an idea as far as how much an election, whether it's going to be a county, like a piggyback off the county election,
20,000 is typical.
that runs about 8 to 10, perhaps 12 at the highest, depending on the ballot size and whatnot. If it's a standalone, it runs
Right.
about 35 to 40.
Is that going to happen in this case?
Councilman, before we get into that, I know our city attorney is working on several options for you to consider at the, I believe it's the August 24th meeting.
I
Because
withdraw
there are various options, and depending on which direction council wants to take at that time, we're either looking at we can piggyback, or we can do a standalone, or maybe the possibility of putting it in the April election. But I want to defer to the attorneys on that, and they'll be making a presentation August 24th on those
I'll
options.
withdraw my question and honor that, sir.
All right. Now, as far as the election for 2021, we have 20,000 in reserve to cut plus this 20,000, correct? Erica?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
All right. Any questions on the city clerk's budget?
None,
Yes,
sir.
no window?
No wish list is here.
Okay. We go on. City manager's budget,
City manager's budget.
section 4.
On page 4-5, and the proposed budget is about 7,579, or 2% lower than fiscal year 1920. Decrease is due to approximately the fact that we paid almost $40,000 in legal costs related to annexation this year, which we're reducing to 5,000 for 2021. The professional services budget includes 45,000 for the city lobbyist and 5,000, as I mentioned, for legal costs related to annexation.
Any
That would have been
comments
the
or
only
questions?
question, sir. You just answered it.
Okay, anything else? We move on.
Well, no, I have a question, Mayor.
Well, speak up, please. We got to get through this. And Bobby, take your time.
William,
Take your
the
time.
cell phone. William, the cell phone expense of $1,400. How
Correct.
many cell phones is that for? That's not for the city council staff, right? That's just,
No,
What are-
under the city manager's budget you're looking at,
yes.
that's for myself and Tammy Romero.
Tammy,
That's 2.
1,400?
And I believe it's the PIO as well. No, William?
So for
public
two.
information officer.
No,
No?
she's under the finance budget.
Oh, finance.
It's under finance, yeah.
That's
That's
for
for
the
two-
year. That's for the year.
That's
Yeah,
for 2
for the year.
phones.
It's
For the
Anna.
year there.
You're right, Bill.
All right.
Anything else?
But I
I certainly
I-
make use of that, of your cell phone. Yeah.
I think I'm the only one that doesn't have a city cell phone.
I don't.
Oh, you don't either? George, you don't either? Okay.
Anything else? We move on. 5,
Okay,
golf, section,
Let's do golf on section 17. The proposed budget is $106,782, or 5% lower than the 1920 budget. You can see on page 17-4, you have the budget for the pro shop, which shows a $20,000 decrease. And on page 17-7, you have the maintenance budget, which shows an $82,509 increase over the prior year. And I have Paul and Lori, I believe, are on board here in case you have any questions.
Don't you wish you went to the Olympics, Lori?
Oh, wow. What a missed opportunity, huh?
Not only that, she's got to sit here with us.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Lori
It
Bland,
hurts a little bit. It hurts a little bit.
Lori Bland, you're an angel.
Do we have any questions about the golf budget or to the beautiful
Certainly
people
not
that run the course?
Certainly not how they're doing it, but going forward, there will be some issues. I don't know that we're at liberty to discuss this right now, but that would be a concern going forward, though.
Okay.
On the revenue side, you mean?
Correct.
Uh,
Well, no,
Well-
actually, William, the deficit side.
Yeah.
Paul, I have a question. Mayor, I have a question for Paul, please.
Go ahead.
okay.
Paul, the significant decrease in expenses, which is great. What do you anticipate, like in the next, say, 3 years moving forward? Because I know we've been able to save some money from what we've spent before, but do you see any major expenses, maintenance issues, something with the next, not necessarily for next year, but for 2 or 3 years going forward that we should
You need to
prepare
look-
ourselves for?
Yeah, you need to look at renovating the golf course, the greens, the tees, and the fairways. And that's your major expense, and it's going to be a big one coming up. But it's a 25-year fix. It's something that's been waiting for 25 years as well. So, fix something that's we've been able to keep going. But there is a point in time that it has to be done, and it needs to be done in the next 2 to 3 years. The longer we wait, the more expensive it becomes.
Paul,
Is
do you
that-
have a number? Do you have a number that you would assign to that?
Lori and I have discussed it, and it's somewhere between 1.3 and 1.5 million.
Paul,
Thank
Is
you,
that
sir.
over a 1 year?
No,
Over-
yeah, everything has to be done in a 1-year period. You plant all the grass at the same time. It's not a phase thing. It's like closing the golf course mid-April, reopening October 1. And
You would
using
do it, you would do it 9 holes at a time, though, right, Paul?
no, it would be all 18 at the same time.
All 18. Wow.
Yeah, so the turf would come out of the
We've
same
done it
field,
but we've done it differently in the past, right?
and you did it incorrectly.
Got you covered. I appreciate that, Paul.
Nah, it's just the truth. 38 years of experience.
So we're looking maybe 2 years out, not next year, but maybe the next year out?
Well, I mean, we would have liked, we did a 5-year capital plan for actually this coming summer. We took it out. We were thinking about next year, but we don't know where COVID's going to leave the city, and we don't want to burden the city with it, but it does need to be done. It's a necessity. So at the longest, 2 years out.
Okay.
Paul,
Actually, Paul and Lori and I had talked about this months ago before COVID hit,
Correct.
about doing some type of presentation during this budget. But COVID just threw everything out of whack, and we decided to put it off until maybe next year and presenting it to you.
Correct.
And one other question, please, Paul, as far as decrease in revenue due to COVID, and I think it's on here, but how much have we had in decrease in revenue from golfers due to COVID so far? And what do you anticipate, toward the end of the year?
Well, we've lost about 50% of revenue
Wow.
due to COVID. And depending on, as long as we stay at a 50% capacity on our golf fleet, that really knocks us down quite a bit. The good news is when on Saturdays and Sundays, we're packed. I don't anticipate, much of a foreign or a Canadian membership this next year because, I just don't believe the public's going to start traveling in the winter and coming back to Florida. We're a hot spot. I mean, everything's a, kind of adjust as you go.
That's right. And I'd like people to understand that some of these questions, Paul can't answer, and neither can all of us until we find out how far this virus goes or if they fix it. So, I don't like to put people on the spot to speculate what's going to happen. Like Paul said, if the Canadians don't come down, they might come down though. So let's be careful on predictions.
I agree with
Well,
that, Mayor.
I think if anyone can have give us an estimate, and this is a budget workshop to estimate what our costs are going to be in the future.
I don't think in this situation
Paul.
anybody could give estimates.
Thank you, Paul, for your information.
You're welcome. I mean, probably the biggest segment that produces the most for us is the European traffic. We've been thankful to have that strong over the last 3 years. And they always pay top dollar, and they spend quite a bit of money. And we're right now, we couldn't go to the European continent. If we wanted to, they wouldn't allow us. So
You're right.
again, it's going to be adjust as we go. I'm sure they want to travel as well, but everybody's in fear for the time being, and rightly so.
How are those restrictions working that you've implemented? Is everything going smoothly as far as the plan?
Yes, I mean, yeah, the golfers have done well. We've not had any issues with golfers.
Thank you and Lori and all your staff.
Ditto.
Anything else on the golf budget? All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna
Let's
move
move
on
on to section 16 is the elderly services budget.
Yes.
Is Tammy Key on?
Hello.
There she is. Okay.
Hi, Tam.
Hello.
Good night, Paul and Lori.
Okay, the proposed budget is $159,778, or 23.5% higher than 1920. The increase is due basically to the almost $186,000 LSP grant that we got this year from the state for the, and there's a typo on your budget book. It should be the 2021 year, not 1920 year. So we're getting an additional $186,000 from the state. The fiscal year 2021 budget also includes costs for the new senior center building, as well as additional staffing for administration, as well as health, fitness, and art instructors. The budget is based on the center opening to the seniors in January of 2021. Hopefully, we don't know yet, but that's the date we've been advised by the Alliance for Aging that the centers will not be open before year end. So the earliest we're looking at is January 1st, depending on how this pandemic goes. It may be later, it may be sooner, but they told us to just look at not opening up for the rest of this year. Lori, Tammy Key is here. If you want to discuss any specific items on her budget, starting on page 16-7.
Correct. Through the chair. Tammy, good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to mention that the 57 people that are basically looked after is it went away, right? Yeah, we're losing it. Yeah, but the 135 million that is allocated to the county to be distributed to the municipalities, the 34 municipalities in Miami-Dade County, we are relying on our piece of that to cover the 57 people that are uncovered at the moment. Am I wrong on that?
That's correct.
Right. I'd like to, I don't know if it's appropriate that I mention this tonight, but I'm gonna anyway. There's one more I'd like to add to the list. And Joan Hutchins, who is a former city council woman,
Right.
is also in that same situation. I expect that she needs to approach you guys and get into that. Her sons have both told me that she is totally needy of this right now.
Okay.
So Tammy, I'll work that out with you on the side, but
Okay. Yeah, I know her. I'll reach out to her.
Thank you, my dear. And,
Mhm.
and the 135, William, I think you budgeted that. I think you guesstimated that in your deal.
No,
And
no,
I think-
no. Councilman Best, what happened, and this is what's the problem with that the mayors have been having with the county, is that originally, a few weeks ago, the county threw out the number of 135 million for the municipality.
Correct.
In the latest report that they did last week, and that the commission approved, it was only 30 million for the municipalities. So
What's the
what they
number
said-
that's going to cover these 57, 58 people?
Like I mentioned before, it's about $21,000 from September through December.
So you
So
think,
we put that in our request of the $370,000 that were
okay,
requested.
so you still think we're in the envelope then?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to mention to Williams, Mayor, if I may, to Williams' comment, the county has tried to keep the majority of this care money by far, and the League of Cities, the combination of the elected officials and the mayors that are involved with the League of Cities have really opposed. They're keeping the money and just spending it their way and insisting that the municipalities are entitled to a fair share of that. And that has caused the Mayor Jimenez to increase, begrudgingly, but increase the amount that allowing for the cities, but it's still a battle.
Councilwoman, I love your term begrudgingly.
Yes, definitely. Because they would like to keep it all and they decide how they can spend it when our communities know the needs in our communities.
May I make a
Anything else?
comment?
Sure.
Okay, so when the crisis began, just to give a little bit of background of where the path that we're on, we had Older Americans Act money, of course, to cover our programming and to cover our food costs, basically, and our transportation. When COVID hit, they gave us extra money that was allocated as COVID funding. And then they came along with the CARES Act funding, and they gave us CARES Act funding. But that funding, as you know, is running out rather quickly. There is a big question mark, next to that. Will they come back? Will they give us more money? The Alliance for Aging really could not answer that question at this time. And so they told us that we needed to notify those people that signed up after the crisis began, that there would be a possibility that we may have to stop their service. And that's why, we're trying to make preparations to make sure that we don't have to do that. Now, there is a chance that they could come through and the Alliance could come back to us again and say, guess what? There's more CARES Act money, but there's no guarantee of that, really.
Tammy,
And
that's very tentative, I'm afraid.
It is. And as far as us being closed, they did mention to us that we probably wouldn't be able to serve the seniors until the new year, but we are looking at some alternatives as well, maybe doing some video online, just to keep them engaged in the meantime and to help ramp up programming so that we're good to go when the time comes. So.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on that down the road.
And I'd like to mention that this funding for seniors is really critical because by the very nature of it for seniors, I may not need it now, but I may feel that I need it in 6 months to be part of the senior center and to have the meals. Seniors, as we get older, we're aging and may need the assistance, the camaraderie, whatever the senior center holds. So to say you're either signed up before or you're not totally defeats the purpose of, being a senior and asking for help when you get to the point where you feel like you need it. And that is something that's constantly evolving. It's certainly not static. It's very dynamic for our community.
Good point, girl.
Anything else?
No, sir.
I just wanted to say to you that Tammy, over this past weekend with the storm, tested the My Senior Center software that council approved for the new senior center. She's been using it and she was able to send messages to all of the seniors during the storm. I don't know if you want to fill them in, Tammy, on how well it worked for you.
Sure. It's absolutely amazing. Their support team is wonderful. I was actually able to send out 2 recorded phone messages in English and in Spanish to all of our seniors. One explaining that we have this ability to leave them these messages, and the other, checking on them and asking them and making sure that they had their shelf-stable meals that we had sent to them previously. And then today I was able to send out a message about the food giveaway, the farm share giveaway on Wednesday, and also just to let them know that the walking track is reopening. So not only is this a great tool to use in cases of emergency to get information out to them, but it's also used for special events as well. So I think it's going to be a really great system for us. So
Tammy,
thank you.
why would I expect you're not on top of that?
I try.
Oh, yeah.
You do more than that, kiddo.
Anything else for Tammy or in the senior budget, elderly budget?
Not for me, sir.
Thank you,
Tammy,
Tammy.
have a good evening. Thank you.
Tammy.
You took the reins on at a really difficult time. You've done great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Tam.
you. Have a good night.
Okay, we go to planning.
Planning is on
Section
section 8 of the planning budget. The proposed budget is 3,228 or 3.6% higher than 1920. And increase is mainly due to the 3% COLA and health insurance cost increase. Chris is on the phone, on the line, if you have any specific questions on his budget.
Chris,
Any questions?
thank you, sir. Chris, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Oh, good. And I think you've done a great job for our town, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that.
Chris, I have a question.
Yes,
Chris,
sir.
all right. Let me ask you, do you feel like you need a city phone, a city cell phone?
No, it's not really necessary. During this stay-at-home period, it's been the only time, and I've managed just fine. It's definitely something that I don't feel that I need.
Hey, Chris, you can have mine.
Everything
There you go.
provided with. I'm very happy.
Eric will look into that.
I'm very happy with the support I get from the administration and from the mayor and council.
All right.
Chris,
Just
I have a
thought-
question.
All right, I asked.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councilman.
No, go ahead, Maria.
I think last year we increased the budget for you to attend some conferences. Were you able to with the COVID, or did the COVID wipe out those conferences?
Both of them, the state and the national, were canceled.
It
All
were.
right, so we have them in the budget again this year.
I'm
You said that
expecting
those
they're
were
both
really-
going to be canceled again. As a matter of fact, the state is already in early fall and it's canceled. The national conference is in the spring. It remains to be seen, but I'm not too hopeful on either one of them.
Okay, is that something we should leave in the budget though, in case, I know you're kind of in a bend sometimes and you said that
Well,
those
we
were
didn't
very
spend,
helpful.
we didn't
for you
spend, we didn't
out
spend the
there.
money though.
Correct. And, I've never gone, I haven't gone since I've worked my 7 years here, and probably, I think just like you said with the National League of Cities, it's a good thing to stay connected, talk to your peers, understand what kind of issues they're facing, how they're dealing with them. For me, it's money well spent, honestly, but I understand the situation that we're in. If that's something that you feel is expendable, then so be it.
I think we can leave it in. I'm okay with leaving it in. I was just wondering if it got spent last year after all. I think
no,
everyone's conference is
and again, the state is already canceled, and the national, we'll see.
Okay, so we'll take the state out and leave the national for right now.
Right. I agree with the councilwoman that we should leave it in.
All right. Anything else on the planning?
No,
All
sir.
right, we go to section 13.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Be safe,
Thanks,
Chris.
Chris.
Section 13, that's public services, that's public works. It's Tom. There's Tom. Let's start with page 13-3, his administrative budget. So first, I want to tell you the overall public works budget, all his divisions for 2021 is $2,141,085, or 21% lower than the fiscal year 1920 budget. The decrease is mainly due to the cost of the city hall remediation that we encountered this year. And that's where you see most of the.
William, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. What was the decrease to?
21.2.
The city hall mold remediation that we encountered this year.
Oh, right.
So his admin budget is on 13-3. And there's a special item that I wanted to discuss with you. I don't know if Mr. Charlie Leonard is on the line. Erica?
If Mr. Leonard is on the line, please dial *9. Yes, he is. I'm going to unmute him now.
And that refers to, if you look in your packet on 1321 through 1322, this is an issue from the Rotary Club that Tom has been working with them on. And it has to do with the dog waste stations throughout the city. The original agreement with the Rotary was that they would install them and then they would supply the replacement bags, and Public Works would put them in place. The problem they're having now, from what you can see on the letter of 13-21, is that they're having problems with funding and getting replacement bags. So Tom and Public Works has been helping them out, but now for the next year's budget, they're looking for a request, and I believe it's about, Tom, $2,000 a year,
Correct.
which is not included in the budget, but I know Mr. Leonard wanted to address council if you have any questions on this.
Go ahead, Mr. Leonard, what do you have to say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager. If you can also please unmute Nancy Boyd. She was past president of the Rotary Club, and she was instrumental in working with Tom in establishing these pet waste stations. I don't know if you can see who she is on what line. Nancy Boyd.
If she is.
I'm here.
Okay, there she is.
Nancy's there.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Yes, I'm here, and thank you all for what you're doing. This is amazing job by all of you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nancy.
Just Nancy, and I'll let you get into more details, but basically, due to the COVID situation, we obviously had to cancel one of our biggest fundraisers, which is the River City Festival. And we've also postponed or canceled for now our golf tournament, which is also a big fundraiser. So that's why we found ourselves, in this position to try to, petition the council to help us with that. Nancy, if you can go ahead and fill in the rest.
Oh, well, I don't know how much more there is to fill in, everyone, but it's, I think it was costing the Rotary Club maybe $1,200 to $1,500 a year to supply the dog waste bags. I know Mr. Nash was having some difficulty with residents taking them, and I think just discarding them, not using them, and he had to make replacements along the way. But our club was just in a position where we weren't going to be able to make that expenditure this year on behalf of the city, which we're disappointed in greatly, because we really believe this is a great project and helping keep our city clean. So basically that's it. We just need the help this year.
okay. All right, well,
Mayor, I'd like to
We
say,
hope to be okay next year.
I think
I
that
was
we
saying
can
that we hope to be
somewhere,
fine.
I think somewhere in the budget, we can figure out how to get $2,000 to replace what they need for the Rotary Club till they get back on their fundraiser feet and get going. So I don't know where we want to maybe do it. Maybe the manager can come up with what budget he wants to take it out of. Maybe if we don't go to the League of Cities things, that $2,000 there, we can put it towards that. We'll figure out a way to get to $2,000, I think.
I agree with the mayor. I think it's a good overture on the part of the club.
Okay.
I think
Thank
it's
you so
wonderful
much.
that the stations are throughout the city, and it would be a real disappointment for residents to show up at one of those and the doggy bags aren't there. So it's an important,
Right.
it certainly benefits all residents, not just the dog walkers. So thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you, Charlie.
y'all.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks,
Have
you
a good
guys.
evening.
Thanks, Charlie and Nancy.
Stay safe.
Thank
All right,
you.
we
You
can-
all
you
too.
too.
We'll continue with
Okay,
the budget.
Moving on from the admin budget, if there are no questions, we go to Streets Division on 13-7. The proposed budget is $80,520 or 16.6% lower than fiscal year 1920. Basically because we have some personnel that were transferred to the next division that you'll see in the next budget we do for public properties. And also there was an improvement done in 1920 for 22,505. That's not required this year. And this is the budget that includes $25,000 for citywide tree planting. So that budget is on page 13-7. Somebody's phone is ringing.
Yeah, I heard. William, I read what you just said.
Okay, I don't know, Tom, you wanted to address council on the tree planting issue?
Yeah, since the city's been through the COVID situation and we had the other with the city hall, I talked to the Arbor Day Foundation and I spoke to the National Forestry Division with regards to our Tree City USA and Growth Awards. Earlier in the year, due to the COVID, they allowed us to have a pass on having the Arbor Day celebration. They told us that with folks not being able to gather, they were going to omit that from this year's program. In light of the financial situations that we're facing this time, I'd spoken to the manager about maybe not doing the street tree planting this year and foregoing that $25,000 if it could be used for other resources. I was advised that with the $100,000 that we have reserved for in the budget for the street tree trimming plus the portion of my salary that goes for the certification for being the arborist for the city, we meet the $2 per capita requirement for the Tree City USA Growth Award. So it will not impact our status if we do not plant trees this year. And that could be some funding that we can send back to the general fund or use it for something that's a little bit more pressing. And, we definitely need to keep the trimming because we've made a significant improvement this last year with what we did do. And I'd like to keep that moving. But, I think that if we took 1 year off with the street tree planting, we're not going to get too far behind.
So Tom, you don't think that to forego that for a year is going to do any damage to the city? I mean, should we continue to? I know Councilman Mitchell is all over this tree planting stuff, and I kind of am too.
It was just something for you guys to consider.
I understand. Tommy, I appreciate that.
Right, but I'm just saying it's an opportunity. It was something that we were throwing out there to see where it goes.
Gotcha.
And yay or nay, it was just an option that we had to reserve some funding if we needed it.
Thanks for bringing it forward.
I think that is very, very, with the fact about feeding the seniors for $21,000, it might behoove us to put that towards the seniors, feeding them outside the home, the 57. That might be a good place to get that from. Good place to get the 2,000 for the dog station. So I appreciate it, Tom, to give us these options.
Councilman Mitchell, do you have a problem with it?
Well, I just want to thank Tom for thinking outside the box, and and I know that that's a really, really difficult even suggestion for you to bring up, knowing how much you want to beautify the city. So I appreciate that. I would like to we're not going to vote tonight. Just let's give it some thought. I mean, to me, planting trees is not something we do for ourselves. It's something that we do for our future generations. And if you don't do it now, you're not, this is a real sustainability initiative because you're doing it for the children that are growing up in Miami Springs now and will hopefully be homeowners here one day. You have to start somewhere. And that's always kind of the easiest things to do, or to give these things up that you go, well, we're not going to see the immediate benefits of it. So I'd just like to say, we're not voting tonight anyway. Let's see if we can keep it in there. To me, it's very important to be able to, keep on our commitment, always planting new trees, considering also that every hurricane season, and we've just started one, we lose tons of trees. So who knows how many trees we'll lose between now and November. But
and I think another thing to consider, another thing to consider is that for the last 2 years in a row, we've received grants from Neat Cities USA for tree planting. The problem with that is that it's a matching grant. So if they give us 25, we have to put up 25. So
right.
So it just means, it just depends on how truly committed we are to, what Miami Springs, what type of community Miami Springs is. And let's leave it for later to discuss.
Well, I think also, I hope that you would consider the fact of using them funds to feed the seniors.
Well, that's why it's so important, Mayor, to be with the League of Cities, be part of other communities that fight together to demand not uniquely one community, but as a group, that we stand together and demand from the county a fair portion of those care funds to feed the seniors, the 57 seniors and everything else. And we can't do that alone. We need the weight of all the municipalities in Dade County, and that's how the League of Cities really works well. If you've attended any of these meetings recently, you'll know that they've really pushed the amount that we're going to be getting based on, what the initial amount was going to be.
We could still budget
Or to
for
step outside of the city sometimes.
We could still budget for that for the seniors, and if we get the money from the county, we'll put it towards the trees. You could one or the other, but you can't ever count on what the county's going to do.
Yeah, it's an unknown.
Thank you, Tom, again for coming up with this suggestion.
I didn't mean to start a fuss. I'm just
no,
you didn't. You didn't at all.
I think we all
actually you brought
appreciate
something
you,
good. I think,
and we appreciate you digging deep to find some extra money there.
Right.
And bringing it to our attention of an option.
Agree.
Anything else on this part of the budget?
No, sir.
How about streams?
Mayor, I think feeding the seniors is very important.
Streets?
all right, we move on to
Number two.
public properties on 13-10. We just did streets.
Okay.
Public properties on 13-10. Proposed budget is 56,000 or 6.7% higher than 1920. As I mentioned before, increases due to transfer of staff from the other division in order to meet the workload of the public properties division. These are the people that are out mowing the medians and all that in the city. And I know Tom has had a lot of workload put on his staff for this division. So that's what the increase is for, and plus the 3% COLA and the insurance, health insurance issue.
Yeah, I think this is
the budget that includes. This is the budget that includes $100,000 for tree trimming. In the past 2 years, council has, matter of fact, in the past three, I think we got 200,000 this year, Tom, and I have another 200,000 last year. Right. And he's made a lot of headway on tree trimming around the city.
Yeah, I think the 6.7 is benign in this issue.
Lost you, Bobby.
I said I think the 6.7 increase is benign. I think this budget is to go what is recommended.
Okay. Any other questions?
I know you and your staff have had a really, have had some big challenges with the flooding that we had in, unexpected flooding that occurred in South Florida in late May. And now we're starting the hurricane season. So and with the COVID, having staff out and in and out illnesses but I can tell you, I haven't heard from anyone that their services have been lacking. You and your staff have done an amazing job despite the lack of personnel and the demands that you're having of making sure that, you know, that all the services are still provided from Public Works. So thank you for that.
Right. I think through the chair, I think what Public Works has done in terms, or the city, actually, I should say that to William more than anything, is their ability to move labor in and out to make stuff happen. I think that's brilliant.
Right, we cross-train all of our staff, whether they work in the lawns department or sanitation. Any one of those guys can be moved to any of the departments to cover any of the jobs that, you know, we have come up, or anybody that's deficit.
And that's what the 6.7 represents, Tommy, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
You got something? Mr. Loeb, anything you were saying?
Nope. No, that was money well spent for the cross-train, for sure.
Okay, we go to building and maintenance.
Building maintenance on 13-14. This is the proposed budget is 536,000 or 140 lower than 1920. Again, this is the budget that contains all the work done at the City Hall this year for mold remediation. So that's why you'll see the huge decrease in the current year. But it's basically due to that. Everything else is status quo, same number of personnel, and we have two guys that do a tremendous job of keeping some of our aging buildings going. And I think Tom deserves a lot of credit for what these two guys are able to do citywide.
Yeah, we have two magicians.
Anything on this budget?
Yeah, through the chair, I'd just like to say that the 14% that we're saving is because they didn't have to do anything because of what we're doing with the mold mitigation, or right?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anything else on this budget?
No,
we'll go to the fleet.
Okay, the final one is fleet maintenance. The proposed budget is 20,000, 34% lower than 1920. And this is just basically the budget that accounts for the outsourced fleet staff that we have that maintain all of our equipment. And you'll see a decrease in some of their areas. Last year, I know we had $6,000 for machinery and equipment that we don't have this year, and that's part of the decrease that you'll see. And also the fact that we're getting new equipment, new vehicles, so they require less maintenance.
Yeah, and what I also liked in this budget, or what you guys have done actually, Tommy specifically, is maintaining maintenance on what we have. I like that. Maintenance scheduling on what we have.
We got roads and transportation.
Mayor, I have a question for Tom, if I may.
Go ahead.
Tom, the same thing that that I asked Paul regarding golf course. Do you anticipate, say, in 3 years going forward, any? I mean, this is great that we've got these savings right now, but do you anticipate any major, really significant expenses 2 or 3 years going forward?
The biggest concern that I have overall is the erosions that we have on the north and south Esplanade and Melrose Canal. We attempted to do the restorations a few years ago with funding allocated through the state, and then that funding was stopped. We continuously go every year to try and take a little bite of the apple, but the erosion situation is probably going to be something that's going to get us moving forward. We need to get some resources or get somebody who's more familiar with these grant programs through South Florida Water Management or other entities that could come in and help us find another avenue so that we can decrease the issues that we have. If you guys haven't noticed, those canals over there are in really rough shape.
Yep.
Yeah, about 4 or 5 years ago, we asked the state for $2 million canal restoration to do all of the canals. And that one particular year, they gave us $500,000. And we've been asking for it every year since then and haven't gotten anything. So we need to work on getting grants from other sources or going back to the state and see if we can get that going, because we have a homeowner right now whose fence is basically falling over, right, Tom?
Correct.
The canal has backed up into his fence and his fence is falling already.
I think we need to get our grant writer going on this.
Yeah.
Did you get any follow back, any feedback from that water keeper contact that was, okay.
Yeah.
That was
No,
looking at South Florida water management grants?
Right. I reached out to them a couple of times and nothing ever came back.
I'll follow up just to see.
Where do we want to go to next?
Mayor, through the chair, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Road and transportation, I saw nothing in the proposed budget that spoke to that in our packets.
That's CITT.
Yeah, that's on section 15.
Well, I know, but it didn't say a plus or minus or not. It was like.
No, it's on, if you look at page 15-1.
It's V1 off of 8, right?
Excuse me?
Of a public services. And after fleet maintenance, there is.
Right, but no, your agenda doesn't include what section that road and transportation is in. It's in section 15.
Okay.
And that proposed budget is almost 174,000, or 23% lower than 1920.
Okay.
And this is all the CITT funding.
Okay, William, thank you. Thank you for that. You just answered my question.
Okay, how about sanitation?
Section 19, proposed budget is 104,000, or 4.3% higher than fiscal year 1920. Increase is mainly due to the 3% COLA and the increased health insurance costs. As you know, this fund is self-sufficient, and it's funded by sanitation fees that are paid through the taxes.
Okay. And then stormwater.
Stormwater on section 20.
Yep.
Proposed budget is 5,672, or 1.2% higher. Again, this is just due to the COLA and the health insurance costs, but otherwise the budget is status quo. That's from last year.
And now we go to finance.
Section 6. The admin budget is on page 6-4. Proposed budget is 4,978, or 1.1% lower than fiscal year 1920. And basically there are no changes to the finance budget.
Yeah, it is. It's 1.1 lower.
Lower. Yeah.
William, you're always a magician in this area.
Yeah, it's like a friend of mine was telling me that when you're looking at the financial for Exxon, like $1 million is a rounding error.
Thank you, sir. Hey, thanks for a good proposal tonight. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And then the second part is the professional services budget, which is Tammy Romero's. On page 6-8 is
What is
professional
that?
services.
Yeah, somebody's got their something on.
October 5.
Erica's got it covered. Who is this?
Who is that, Erica?
I don't know. Erica would know.
Okay.
All right, Page 6-8 is professional services budget and finance. The proposed budget is $4,258, or 2.1% lower than fiscal year 1920. The only thing additional in the budget is requesting $1,500 for new computers for staff. And you have Tammy on board to answer any specific questions for you. As you know, we have a new public information officer. Her name is Natessa Pereira. And she's been with us a few weeks now, and she's doing an excellent job so far. And I believe this new computer is for her, right, Tammy?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
William, what's the staff in the finance department? I mean, I know you wear many hats, but other than you, Tammy's in the finance department, and who?
Tammy and Natessa are in the finance professional services.
And Giselle.
Right, and Giselle. And then in the finance admin budget, you have me as finance director, you have Moira, who's our controller, you have Mercedes, Mercy, who's our payroll, Yanelkis, who's our senior accountant, and you have a new fellow that just started. His name is Pedro. He does accounts payable. And we have Maria, who's our cashier.
Cashier.
Okay, I'm missing, then I guess. Oh, I see. There's another page here for salaries. I was thinking that it doesn't, the 200,000 can't cover all the salaries, but I see there's the other one for the, all right, okay. Professional services is separate. So there's three. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Getting an Amber Alert.
Sounds like feedback on a rock and roll stage here.
It's an Amber Alert for a 2-week-old baby. Unbelievable.
Whatever.
Okay. All right. So in closing, we got a little decision in the council budget. We got a little decision about the 25,000 that Tom's offering up. We have to think about the $2,000 for the doggy bags. And we'll put that as a note for the next budget meeting when we go ahead to get to voting on it. Is there any other thing anybody wants to say?
No, Mayor, I think that's a good review, sir, for our edification. And I'd like to thank William for putting together again, as he does every year, such a comprehensive budget that this is something that laymen can read and understand. And based on what we've had in the city before, I'll be able to go forward and make sense of. Thank you, sir.
An award-winning budget.
Right.
Award-winning budget.
The annual wish list.
William, Mayor, thank you.
No, George said that. Councilman.
Oh, George, you did? Okay, good. George, okay.
Mayor, if I may, for William, I have another question. The annual wish list that you, is that in the next budget? Or is that?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Or did you even ask this year?
After we go through all the departments, then we'll go through all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I hope that we make it clear that we, because of what's gone on about monies that are coming in, that we stay to the bare bones that we can and only go for what we really need. I hope that everybody feels that way, you know.
Very good point, sir.
We did knock it up to 7.5 just in case, but remember the proposal was 7.333 or whatever it was. So I want everybody to keep in mind that with the people in our community that need more help financially and otherwise, in a lot of respects, is our responsibility to help them people. So that we can go ahead and have them have at least a good start to the 2021. And I don't think about that.
Mayor, excellent point and locked and loaded in my mind.
All right.
Mayor, and I want to make a comment regarding the wish list. We usually don't approve most of the items on it, but it gives us insight from the employees as to things that they notice could be needed. We get, it's a way to communicate and get involved and have an understanding of things that that there's a need, there might be not necessarily a need for, but that would be useful to our city or to our employees. So that's why I like to see it.
Thank you, Councilwoman, but that wasn't even my point, but thank you very much. Anything else? This
No,
meeting is
sir.
adjourned.
No, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Nice job, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you.
William and Tammy.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you, Erica.